Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me on episode 186 of the Leon LeGray podcast. Your host, as always, Leon. And so today, in today's episode, we're gonna go and talk about my predictions for next year and of 2023. So around the corner, we're gonna be talking about what's going on, what things I think that's going to be pretty exciting for next year. And I haven't had the time to talk about too many things on podcasting. For one, I've still in the process of saving up for a big move coming up for next year, and so that's one I've wanted to start off with the introduction on today's podcast. So is pretty much my predictions for next year and how things are going to go about. So more coming along the way on episode 186. And so before we begin, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to my sponsors that I've been with for a very long time. And the ones I've been with is Zennies. Zennies is a wonderful anti-blue light glasses protector for your eyes. And what I like about it is at least it helps your eyes, and at least from having to get damage from a screen time, whether it's phone, laptop, desktop, whatever, you might want to just keep your eyes in full protection as always. Go get yourself some Zennies and check down the link down in the description below and get yourselves a pair. Then next on the list of sponsorships is Blueberry. What I like about Blueberry, wow, I like the fact that it is really reliable, and fun thing about it is you can just put yourself out there with Blueberry, and I like how they are giving a lot of support with the podcasting community for over the years, especially for me recording over there. And to me, the menus are pretty easy to look into, and if you're confused by any reason whatsoever, if you're just confused about where to go, Blueberry has gotten your back. So, and also the support is great on Blueberry, and something I would go ahead and check out and considerably check them out if you are a serious podcaster, and if you want to go and just give it a try for 1 month and then to see if it's right for you, give them a try. It is 30 days, guaranteed you. Go ahead, check out Blueberry. What are you waiting for? Now, starting with episode 186. 186. Let's get rolling. Oh, hello, everybody. What is going on? Leon back here again. And welcome to episode 186 of the Leon LeGray podcast. Your host, as always, Leon. So, what the hell has been happening? And I'm going to just make it short, sweet, and simple. And I'm sure many of you know that I've had said previously in the past that I wanted to get more episodes out. So now I believe that this week will be a very good week to get more episodes out. I know there was a time that I've had issues getting episodes out through Spotify, and I'm going to definitely check up again to see how Spotify is doing, especially with releasing new episodes. Apple Podcasts, no issues whatsoever. I've actually fixed some of the errors in the descriptions and the episodes from previously, and I've had to get that out of the way and get it fixed. Which, by the way, the reason for my infrequency of podcasting is, for one, I'm working over at Arts and Crafts Store in a plaza where I live, which to me I had definitely trying to save enough money to make enough right there, which is something I've really wanted to do. But also I am working my best to do that, and the reason I'm not posting as enough episodes as I want to, or should I say, which I should, because for one, the hours that they're having me on over at that job is very odd, and it's just long 8 hours. In the reason I have to take these 8-hour shifts because I have to. For one, personally, I have to make enough money to make it. that's pretty much the reality of my situation. If I want to save up and move down to South Florida, and that was just the reason why I figured this was something I wanted to save up and just go somewhere else. Because right now, I'm sure that all of you know that have listened to me for some time. I've pretty much had enough with Georgia. I had enough with the people, and I've had enough with the pretty much the close friends I've been around with for some time. Well, eventually, not all of them, but one particularly I've actually had an issue and currently living with, which is something I'm trying to get out and as soon as possible because, man, he sure scares the shit out of me having to live with him all the time too. And this is just not me picking out introverts, but I think when it comes down to certain types of people and there are certain types of personalities, swear to God, they freak the shit out of me. Don't know what this is, but I really need to get the hell away from him. And I know people live certainly and very differently, but man, I believe that I am definitely living with a creeper in the same roof. A And that's where I can't really want to express myself too loudly because he wants to. He tends to eavesdrop a lot, and that's where I notice when you live with certain people, you know that for one, uh, things don't work out the way it should. For me, and our friendship with him, or my friendship with this man, hasn't been too well, and but damn it, Rick, man, this guy pissed me off so much, which I've to a point I am just ready to leave and just go somewhere else because for one I really just don't like the living situation even though he's been nice enough, but I rarely like to leave on my own terms but not his, and the problem is that I don't have a vehicle to do that, and unfortunately that's kind of the reality of the situation, making things a lot harder than for it is to be easier. And for one, I'm even though I am blessed that he's helped me for quite a bit, but for one, I've dealt with tons of situations and issues where I actually had to push him out so I don't have to have any help from him. That's pretty much the point because I can't really stand. Even there's people I can't really stand being with all the time. And hey, I'm not super introverted. And I know I have a friend that says, "Oh, we think alike. We're both introverts." That's not true. We're not introverts and we don't think alike. And to take that back, well, he is actually much more introvert than I am. To me, I'm in the middle of an ambivert, which to me, I don't have nothing wrong with people that are introverts. To me, I happen to be actually be more extroverted than anyone else. Because thing is, though, I work in customer service relations, and I tend to like to work with people a lot, and I like working with other people, and that's a good thing because at least you can work with different people, different personalities. A lot of people are very different, and I've noticed that too. And to me, I try not take the pleasure of holding a grudge on many people, which not good for you because you want to make sure that you you've got not to take things personally. And I like working with different people and working with the public, and that's just one thing I find a little funny is as much as I know the guy Rick, thing about him is he's worked with the public in the phone for many years, and while I would say that as much respect and that he took many OTs and that he worked back in the day when he was in customer service in the airlines. I'm not going to say which industry. I will say that from where I'm at, even though I'm over at his place and I'm like I said blessed that he let me stay here for some time now. Of course, my stay will be extended until January, so I still got some months away to sell my own stuff, save enough until next year. So that's one thing I will say it's good, but I don't want to stay longer because otherwise I will go nuts having to be around um, people like that, and I can't just stay here a long time because right now I understand that he's gonna need his own privacy, just so as I do, very much so, because right now, like I've said, we're two different people. Um, it's I mean, sure, I can't stand the guy. Yeah, that is true. I can't stand the guy, but um, very much so. I've got to learn how to live and deal with currently where I'm at. So it's like it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but you know that you want to say before you get the hell out of here too. Because imagine right now, currently in today's times, where you have to find an apartment of your own, and then imagine saving all that money up. You know, how look how crazy would that be in today's world, where I'm sure that a 16, 18, or 19-year old person can't go and afford their own home. But right now, I have a place here, and I'm happy where I'm at currently. So until the New Year's in January, I do expect myself to get the hell out of here as soon as possible. Anyways, let's get on with the show because I've already talked too far enough. If you've sat through this, I want to say to everybody, thank you so much for sitting through this. I am happy if you have. Well, since I've already mentioned the airline industry, I'm not going to mention the company that he worked because honestly, it's quite private. So let me not say it because it's going to be, like I said, too much personal information will go out publicly. So let me not say anything that I will regret. But however, he did work his ass off a lot of hours. But does that mean that just because he saved a lot of money, saved a lot to get what he needed, and just because he's great in financing, doesn't mean he's always got a great financial strategy? And I will tell you that one is no, he's not always going to be 100% right. No, it's not. Because the fact of the matter is that he thinks that he's correct all the time, and he calls how he puts short people that do the basically in the financial industry that does the big shorts are pretty much big losers, and here they are, they're wasting money on this and da, which to me, I don't pretty much take his opinion too much in heart because I do not think I don't think he's a person that I would ever take anyone like him seriously, because the fact is that someone like him will go out and play it safe game all the time is not going to be safe always. And I just think it's just a losing game for someone like that to play safe all the time. You know, life is too short to be in the corner, be isolated, and play safe all the time. You know, I just don't live that life. You know, and sometimes during a crisis, there's people out there that wants to go ahead and make moves, even if it's a big risk. You gotta learn how to make big moves in life, and to me, I don't like the comment that how there's people like him that will call day traders losers, and to me, it's like, well, if you've put your money on the long term, well, how come you never gone through experiencing things big? You know, I just feel that you kept yourself in a position way too short in having to experience something so experiencing so small. I just don't like how again, you've just putting yourself in a very small spot in life, and you just never got to experience anything like too extravagantly big for you. You know, I'm not saying spend big all the time, because I see a lot of big spenders when I'm in the arts and crafts store I work in. People spend a lot of money, but I'm thinking, you know, you play it safe all the time, and the fact is that you just here you are, you just didn't get to experience enough for yourself on yourself and say, hey, let me try to put money in it too. And it's like, to me, a lot of people don't know when to go for a gamble and have a little fun for themselves. And to me, it's just that, to me, you you go on that play it safe game all the time, and to me that doesn't work. Sometimes you've just got to make moves, and to me somehow a lot of people just don't see it the same way. To me, look, I lost $6, but does that mean that I hated it? No, I hated myself for doing it. Absolutely not. I don't, because that whole play it safe game, it's not going to work for everybody. Sometimes you got to play it fun, and to me, for what I can tell you, is that for anyone that did the big shorts, that made that huge big squeeze short back in 2021, I think that some people did what they did, and the fact is that the whole red thing was a big thing. And I know that he will comment it something very differently. He says, well, you look at the people that saved the long term, have done much better. Okay, that's your strategy, but that's not everybody's strategy, because at the end of the day, some people have to sell and make a little bit of money, and some people have to buy in order to make money. I don't like to play his strategy, because I don't think his strategy is going to be the best strategy, because it's not always going to be that way too. And I'm sure that the more you wait, the better it gets, right? And I sure it's a strategy for people that can follow up on, but I just don't follow his methods, and that's why I don't like people's rules. Look, if you want to go for the long term and live your life the way you want to, fine, go ahead. It's your life, but I like to live my life the way I want to too, because life is too short. Honestly, life is too short, and you're putting in yourself in a very short position. And I just don't agree with that method. I'm sorry. That's something I'm just not interested in, to be in your place. And that's where I wanted to start off on today's episode, on my tech predictions, things like that, what's going to happen from now till next year. And I think it's going to be quite both terrifying and good at the same time. Not everything is going to be terrifying, but I know there's going to be lots of good things happening along the way. And I do think there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to definitely see. Pretty much like I've said always on the intros of my podcast, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So that's one thing I've wanted to go over on today's episode, which to me, there's a lot of things I've been hearing, especially with the AI. A lot of AI and a big push for AI happening. And so AI has been a very big part of the conversation, even especially with remote cars. Of course, with remote vehicles, that's going to be very huge. And I've had talked about this with previous episodes about the loss of jobs going to happen, which, and no doubt it will happen, but I don't think very fast. So knowingly and taking an eye on what's been happening, there's going to be a lot of newsworthy things that's going to happen coming up next year. And I know that if you're going to save yourself from any new tech jobs that's going to happen, I mean, good thing is that it is still a good time to take up jobs while they're still at it, especially with the trucking industry. And I'm sure that if you use AI for your own good, that's going to be one. And the other one part I wanted to talk about, especially with artificial intelligence, which one I'm wanting to go about this, since I know I'm not going through articles or stories, not too much on today's episode, but I wanted to talk about more about AI, because I know that me and a friend of mine, we haven't gotten down too much about AI and what's been happening, and I know that he's excited about what AI can do, especially for video editors and a lot of for a lot of automobiles. And very honestly, if I can tell you, for one, that's going to take the lead on AI. For I will say, guesstimate or estimating correctly, I know it's going to have to be Tesla. Tesla will end up taking the lead on, especially with automatic driving, and I will be assured of this. I'm sure that you got other manufacturers that will continue to lead the way following Tesla. So knowing what's happening, it's going to eventually happen with other manufacturers, car manufacturers out there too. And I know that it's going to be very much inevitable that whatever you think about automation, automation will go and take the lead. But for me, certainly, there wouldn't be no way that automation will fix a lot of the first world issues. Not really, not necessarily, because uh, I do I do like the comfort of having to have control over your own vehicle, have control over what photos can be manipulated or can be alterated. And when you're doing photoshops, for me, I've have no experience with photoshopping, but and I will tell you that if I've done anything with any Adobe products, I know one thing is I have touched on Illustrator. Illustrator I've touched on. Dreamweaver for web design, I've touched on that program. I can't say that I'm like the biggest fan with Dreamweaver. For one, it is something I wouldn't install on a older laptop like this one I have, which is a mid 2012 laptop. On this laptop, which right now you look at Adobe products, um, they're not pretty much a lot of Adobe products are not compatible with a lot of the older Macs anymore. So if you want to use Adobe or anything with Adobe related, you're gonna have to go for the more Apple M1 chipsets. Intel, not so much, unless if it's probably 2017 or higher, or yeah, you might want to just go for a Mac that you can uh, you can go for, which is an Intel base, which Apple in many ways are still supporting it because a lot of people aren't just going to dump Intel based laptops just for M1s, because right now the M1 chipsets are still early in becoming more advanced, more so over time. But again, I think Apple, in my personal opinion, Apple should just keep the Intel chipsets as long as they can and have them pretty much keep it in support as long as they can. Because I don't think there's nothing wrong with the Intel chipsets, because they've had it for many, many years, and dumping it pretty soon down the line is going to be not the way to go, if I can say honestly, because it will definitely hurt Apple for the long run. But a lot of people don't care because the name or the brand name Apple does appeal to a lot of people. So that brand alone will continue to stand out throughout the ages, or throughout the, I wouldn't say throughout the ages. That's putting it much more brightly. Well, they're going to end up keeping this brand alive, well, as long as there's more buyers and they can spend $1,000 on a phone or on a computer. I mean, there's still, the customer base is still alive for many people like that. And I don't even think a lot of the Mac products are bad, but I just think that throwing support away from the Intel based computer chipsets would be a terrible idea to throw it out very, very soon, because it's the Intel chipset has already matured a lot throughout its start, the time it started. Because I remember, if I remember correctly, the Apple originally used Powers PC, which is a Motorola chipset, if I'm getting it correctly. Right now, I'm not looking it up at this point because I know that I'm the way I've remembered it back then. Apple wanted to find a better chipset manufacturer that could be faster and better than the PowerPC, and Intel provided that right there too. And now you look at the Intel chipsets, it's gone a long way in throwing that support away under 5 to 7 years after all its maturity throughout Apple's timeline would be pretty much a terrible idea. But yeah, so going back over there, I know that with AI, the subject on AI, excuse me, which I think it's gonna, like I said, eventually gonna happen with the trucks, the cars, and AI features, especially with applications, like especially with other programs that you can actually suggest to small programs like editing programs, I know it's gonna happen eventually, but you we'll see how that goes and how it will turn out. I mean, the positive thing is that if you can use AI to your advantages and make your life much easier, because I know that for one, if you're using specific programs, that is one thing. That is one thing right there. And for me, when you are working with a program without the AI, there's always going to be a learning curve. And I remember I struggled through learning a lot when I was going through web design. It was a lot of learning, especially you're going through the basics with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then a PHP. There's lots of challenges, but there's always that learning curve too. And I think that the good thing about learning things is that at least you get a good challenge of what you're gonna do, and especially when you're trying to learn a program. And I'm looking to basically, I don't want to try to compare things like the Matrix, where I remember there was a scene in the Matrix where you can plug into the Matrix and you could find a subject or find a skill what you want, and basically Neo, that character, ended up learning kung fu within 30 seconds. And for us right here, humans, we can't just go and learn kung fu or a programming language at once, or especially speak another language within seconds. I mean, that takes years to master a language. Let's be honest. I mean, that is hard to speak, to catch up with a language. And I don't think AI, like I've said, AI doesn't really 100% solve the problems, because you have to have manual thinking to do that as humans. And while I say that tech does help in many, many ways, but we have to do the hard work, especially learning things as well. And I understand that you got apps, translation apps, if you're going to go to a country where people speaks the native their native language. And I know that you got translation apps that are pretty much have advanced since the last 15 to 25 years. But and still, I think that translation apps is not going to solve 100%, because they're not perfect. They're really not. And I remember using Google Translate on my personal time. Many, many times I've used it. It's just not perfect. And I've talked to native Germans when I traveled, and I've used the Google app, and I remember using that during my travels. The very first time I traveled internationally was in Germany, and I landed in Frankfurt. So, and I remember I tried to speak with. Well, the good thing about going in an international airport is that you at least you can get someone in an airport that does speak English. But by the time you leave the airport, you're gonna end up having a hard time finding somebody that does speak English. Right in Germany too. Now, let's say if you're in a big capital like Berlin, then possibly you're gonna end up finding someone that speaks English, but not too fluently, of course. And I do think that those translation apps does a really good job now. And I'm sure that over time there's going to be other applications that will take the lead over Google Translate and will do sophisticated job over what we know. Because right now, it's Google Translate. How, like I've said, it's improved, but again, I would like to pay a service that will do a better job. Because the thing about with free programs is that these free programs, the way they get better and better is by collecting your data, and of course, you're definitely there's a price on that too. And with Google, in order to get 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 that product to get better, you have to use your product in order for them to get better results. And that's how things are with paid programs. I do feel that you're going to already get good results because I mean you pay for the service and they're gonna pay programs to fix those bugs and errors correctly as well. So again, that's how I see it right there too. But AI, like I've said, AI will do similar things, especially with apps. Whether you're using Apple or Google, there's a lot of good that's going to be used with AI, and others not so much. That's the point I can definitely see right there. And the next story I want to go over is FTX. So FTX was a very big thing early throughout the week. And to follow up on what happened over the week, which very important to talk about because I know that there was so much happening that I couldn't even follow up throughout the week since I was working and everything. And this was during the time, I believe this was during the time when it all started during the day when I was in my day shift job. And knowing what's happening, and it's been reported on their many outlets right now. And now we're going to be going through the basically just a small draft of the timeline of what has happened. And of course, we've had stuff going on reported by the streets, which I will go over in just a moment here. Now, and before we continue on here too, this is something I definitely want to address, especially. And knowing what I know about crypto exchanges is it's nothing I would ever put most of my crypto down. And to all my people listening, this is one thing you got to understand when you're going through any exchanges. This is going to be a part that you might want to have a close listen in because crypto exchanges like FTX and I'll be going over in just a moment. And the way I see it, it's very much similar to a Mount Gox issue that happened about almost a decade ago. And looking at where we're at right now too, this is I think the part where a lot of people just don't know the lessons, or they'll just jump into a exchange thinking that this is going to be okay and so on and so forth, because a lot of people are just ignorantly touted into thinking that, oh, if you put your money into exchange, that's going to be safe by people that are going to watch it and it's going to be carefully close to you by securities. But nobody knows what's going to go in hide behind the scenes and what's going to go in the background when things like happens with the big FTX controversy now. And to me, we're going to go through a timeline. That way we can catch up, which here it says on the street, the FTX cryptocurrency exchange was valued at $32 billion in February. It imploded within days, causing one of the biggest financial fiascos of the decade. FTX announced on January 31st, 2022, that it had raised $400 million from a major investor such as SoftBank, Terra, Seek, Tiger Global, and others. The funding propelled its valuation to $32 billion, more than many long estimated companies. As the street wrote at the time, it was a big jump of $7 billion in valuation in just 3 months. 10 months later, the platform which allows you to buy and sell cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, would be bankrupt. So that's let me just make a stop right here on the article. So this is what happens when you put your trust down onto an exchange, because that's where I think a lot of these central exchanges will rip you off. And I mean, I don't understand how people can say that, oh, these regulators are doing a lot of good, but what makes you think that people are going to do right to regulate things? And plus, a lot of people will be foolish to think that putting your crypto in an exchange will be protected. That's actually a joke right on its own. So hear me out. When I was hearing all these exchanges, like especially with Voyager, Kraken, and many others out there, I thought, I don't know if this is going to be something I would ever go along with and just put my crypto in there too, or my money in the other hand too. Now, in and to be fair, when it comes to centralized exchanges, my issue with centralized exchanges, and where I have to do this a lot, and especially with traders that are foolish, and I don't know why, but it comes down to the privacy issue. Because by the time you sign up with a exchange, you have to give out your information, and you have to pretty much pass the KYC, which means know your customer, or AKA know your client regulation, which basically you have to put your ID in, your social security, and so on and so forth. And then when you do that, you do not know if that information is going to be kept safely out there too. It's not just your money, but you have to be aware. It's not just the money part right there too, but that it's going to get lost when it comes to these exchanges. If you lose your money to these exchanges, and let's say if they go bankrupt too, God knows what's going to happen with all the information that you give on to these exchanges. So that's the point I wanted to go over in today's episode, is why centralized exchanges is just not safe to put everything all at once. And if you wanted to bank in, I'd say yes, buy it, but be careful about trading. And if, let's say, if anything goes south with a company, then you know what? That is your responsibility. You have to take care of your cryptos, because all that money will be going down the drain before you know it. And so, continuing on right here, the shock caused by the overnight implosion of one of the firms considered to be the most physically solid in the cryptocurrency industry is enormous. In addition to the who's who of investors, FTX also had the biggest name among its ambassadors. Example, an NFL legend Tom Brady and his ex-wife supermodel Gisele Bündchen, NBA legends like Stephen Curry and Shaquille O'Neal, tennis star Naomi Osaka, and entrepreneur star of hit TV show Shark Tank Kevin O'Leary, Seinfeld creator Larry David. It will take many months to piece together what really happened, establish full accountability, and assets collateral damage due to FTX being a central piece of the crypto industry. And that's just one of the examples that I want to just break down right there too. Now, I will say that I'm not going to go through the whole timeline, because again, this whole timeline is quite long, but I'm just going to say that I am going to go piece by piece, because again, you're not going to go through a whole length talking about this all the time. So just so you know, I'm not going to waste too much of y'all's time on just piecing this out together, because the story, it is quite long. And to put it this way too, I'm going to go ahead and skip over In fact, the most important part of this one is BlockFi. So let me just read up on November 14th. Emit crypto lender BlockFi, which was bailed out in the summer by FTX, announces that it is suspending withdrawals from its customers. We determined late last week that in the current environment, we could no longer operate our business as usual, given that FTX and its affiliates are now in bankruptcy. The most prudent decision for us, in the interest of all clients, is to continue to pause many of our platform activities for now, the company says in a statement. At this time, withdrawals from BlockFi continue to be paused. We also continue to ask clients not to submit any deposits to BlockFi wallet or interest accounts. FTX is under investigation by federal prosecutors in New York. ABC reported investigators want to determine whether the company violated securities laws when it gave customer funds to Alameda Research. And yeah, this is really bad. You look at the whole situation. So stopping over here too. I'm not gonna go through the whole timeline because again, they've had so many issues with this because, and if you know that this company or these companies are affiliated with Alameda Research, and if you know that you cannot withdraw your funds and trying to get out of that, that's a huge problem. That's an issue that you do not want to be in part of. Remember, being in putting it in a centralized exchange is terrible, terrible, terrible. And regulators, I don't even know if what they're going to do and what's the end game for this at this point in time right there too. Because honestly, I really think that a lot of people will be getting pretty nervous of what the funds are gonna put in. And I will say that I myself, I won't say that I haven't put it into an exchange, but I know that for me, the learning process on this is that this is a learning moment for all of us, especially what's happening. Now, did I 100% trust central exchanges? No. For me, I didn't. I didn't because I was aware of Mt. Gox, even reading about the history of Bitcoin further back when Bitcoin was a big thing. Wasn't really a big thing back then too, but I remember Mt. Gox was one of the first exchanges that was big, and someone that owned the that Mt. Gox exchange. He was an American that lived in Japan, but he got arrested because he ran an exchange. So basically, the the Japanese authorities pretty much had arrested the guy for setting up an exchange because of illegal money. Which you look at Bitcoin, what's even illegal about Bitcoin right there too. Now, and that's one thing with Bitcoin. It does give the advantage to people to send money without any borders, which that's what I liked about Bitcoin when it was all started right from there. But now, when people started to use it, let's say to make greater profits on cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, for example, then it went from Bitcoin to Ethereum, Litecoin, and many currencies down that path right there too. And you find out that going into an exchange is okay. There will be nothing wrong with it. Your funds will be placed on pause until things are fixed. Now the question behind this is if you knew the certainties of what is going to happen and what terrible issues that's going to happen with these exchanges. And also I'm going to let you guys know that this is not financial advice. I'm going to just repeat myself. What I am saying is not financial advice, but I do believe that people out there should do their research 100%. Don't fool yourself because I do believe that a lot of people out there, they'll go with one person's word and they'll just stick right to it without any research. But what I am about to say is that if you are just listening to these maximalists and in these regulators thinking that they know your best interests, and even if they try to fix this issue, and right there too, do you think that they're gonna 100% fix it? I don't think so, because there's still going to be a lot of problems moving on forward. Where whether you see this or not, to me, the this is pretty much hindsight, a 2020 right there too. There's something going to be fishy going on too, which I don't like. I know a lot of people don't like, but there's something to have to be said. And I know that you got people are very much pro regulation, and people, and even people today still see Bitcoin as dirty money, which is a sad thing for these people to see this as dirty money, which is not really dirty money. This is not criminal money, and it is kind of hilarious. And my problem about this is that when Bitcoin was starting to become news back in 2013, and they were starting to arrest all sorts of different people, like from between 2000, I think it was like 2012 through 2015, about how it was being used. And the thing about Bitcoin is that you can't just go and start using Bitcoin for criminal activities, like especially like the Silk Road. The Silk Road was really big, a very, very big thing back then too. But you can't just go call it dirty money, because anytime you make a transaction via Bitcoin, you can't just go and expect your all the stuff that you purchased and transacted with in Bitcoin will be private, and people will foolishly think so. But in reality, all your transaction via the Bitcoin will be tracked, because it is not privacy driven in privacy. And the creator of Bitcoin, whoever he or she was, didn't implement any privacy whatsoever, because all that transaction will be traced via the blockchain. So that's all transparent. If you were a criminal, you wouldn't want to use cryptocurrencies to transact on that, would you? No. You would actually end up using anything anonymous, such as cash, because at this point you want to start using something like cash to go under the covers or under the scenes without you noticing what you paid for, right? Of course, you wouldn't want to get yourself caught transacting via the internet, because it's like making a purchase via the credit card. No way in hell you would want to make big illegal purchase like drugs, right? Like illegal drugs, like opium or whatever. But I think it is absolutely stupid how these maximalists will praise Bitcoin, and the fact is that many of the traders, many of the maximalists and people that are believing in BTCs and or whatever you're transacting at, there's no privacy in any of these coins. And if I have to say it, I was actually watching an interview via Edward Snowden through Decrypt, and he was saying himself was that Ethereum is a lot worse when it comes to privacy issues and stuff like that too. And it is not perfect on its own, but people still transact via Ethereum, because I mean, where you see that or not, are going to be many other tokens that are going to end up doing well. There are going to be more tokens that will be a big replacement on via the Bitcoin. But going back on the story of FTX, I do think that people are going to definitely learn from this and say, maybe this is something I don't want to put so much money into in exchange and get caught in having to lose all that money. Well, do you think? Because at this point, you're going to end up losing a lot more than you would end up gaining. Because this is the problem. You got all these exchanges, like I mentioned, BlockFi, and I'm sure that places like Gemini have paused the withdrawals, so you can't really get it out and put it back into your bank. Absolutely not. It's just not even possible at this point. And I even checked BlockFi today. You cannot do it, and I'm sure you cannot even take things off of Coinbase. I'm sure, don't know if you can, 100%, but there's no way on earth you're going to take out anything like Coinbase, because if that's affecting many others, like especially like BlockFi, Kraken, Voyager, and so on and so forth. It's you bet as hell better be careful what you put in, because what you put in will never be taken out. Period. It's just that simple. And now this is the conclusion of the show. And also thank you so much for everyone dropping by and taking a listen to Leon Legree podcasts. And Leon out. And I hope to hear from you again soon. And please make sure to put your reviews down on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen to me on. I'd like to hear what you have to say. And also, please make sure to rate on Apple Podcasts if you want to go put a review on. And I do read the reviews, so please go ahead and put one down so that way I can get some feedback here on the show. Alright, well, take care. Have a good rest of your day, and happy Thanksgiving for those who are here in the US. Bye-bye.